go.
You know, a common problem that bow hunters with large food plots have is trying to decide, where do they need to be to try to kill that buck. If you have a large food plot, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 acres, I love large food plots. It can present a big problem because, one day the deer are popping out on one end, one day they're popping out on the other, and invariably you're in the wrong spot. So let's see what Mark and Terry do to adapt their food plots and try to funnel deer into the right areas, the areas where they're actually hanging from a tree.
Here's our first real installment of BioLogic's Lessons Learned. The first problem, huge food plot, where do I set up? For me, it comes down to a couple different key answers to that problem. Number one, observe deer movement. Whether you observe it with game monitoring tools or, for me, the best observation is with your own two eyes. Binocular spotting scope from a distance, someplace that you can watch that field and see historically where those deer come in and out of that field. Where are they entering on what wind directions? So pay attention to that and then plan accordingly when that wind comes back around. And then I plan around that observed movement and I hang in accordance to where I'm seeing the most deer come out.
Now, how do you cut that food plot down in size? You do it by planting a variety of crops, and particularly a variety that has a difference in elevation, meaning something that's extremely tall and something that's quite a bit or substantially shorter. You can either plant corn, switchgrass, something that gives you an elevation and gives you that difference, that fringe, where they feel comfortable walking in security and are going to feed out into the shorter, more lush green food source. And we do it all the time in front of particular trees where we want to pick that spot and decrease that length. That shot that was 70 or 80 yards, you can now cut that field down, cut it in half, and make that shot 30 or 40 yards.
To take that fringe concept to the highest level, we plan on multiple winds and multiple temperature differences. We will have fringes for green food sources when the winds come out of the south and it's warm, and consequently when the winds come out of the north and it's cold, we'll have a fringe that consists of grain.
I agree with Mark and Terry, and one of the things that I do when we do have larger food plots is I like to heavily fertilize one end, and the deer, they naturally prefer highly fertilized food sources over traditional food sources that aren't fertilized as heavily. But it's only an issue with the fall when you're trying to concentrate the deer. In the spring, I don't know that there is such a thing as too big of a food plot, because when you're trying to grow groceries for deer in the spring, you're trying to help them through antler genesis, you need a lot of groceries out there and you need to overwhelm them. I like a big food plot, so whether it's Biomax or it's Clover Plus, oftentimes when you're talking about a quarter acre or a half acre in the spring of the year, that's not a big enough food plot because they can keep it eaten down to the ground, and they really can't, it doesn't allow the tonnage of groceries to grow for those deer to be able to really get out there and browse heavily. So a larger food plot in the spring is definitely the way to go. But the way you lay out this food plot and the way you funnel these deer into a certain tight area can really help you be a better hunter.